Alright guys, so I'm going to make just a quick video here to show you just a couple more cool features of inheritance. So here's what's going on now. One thing you might know, in this inheritance class I have a dog and then a Chihuahua and Poodle are both subclasses of dog. Now one thing that's kind of cool is you can set up an array, or of course an array list, of dog objects and fill it with any class that extends dog. So I can set up an array of dogs, let's call it like the pound, and it's a new array of, new array of 5 dogs. And again, the exact same thing works with the array list, nothing special here. And if I fill it up, I can fill up the pound sub 0 to be a new dog object. I don't think it has a constructor, right? Let's see. Yeah, all right, no name, good. Okay, so I can fill up the pound sub 0 to be a dog, and I can fill up the pound sub 1 to be another dog, but I can also fill it up with classes which extend dog. So I can put in, for example, a poodle, and then I can put in another poodle, and then I could put in a chihuahua here. Okay, and this is kind of cool because usually, right, when we have an array of strings, you can only fill it up with strings. When you have an array of ints, you can only fill it up with ints. I meant to make this a chihuahua. But when you have an array of dogs, you can fill it up with poodles and chihuahuas because that is a relationship chihuahua. Or that is a relationship. A poodle is a dog. A chihuahua is a dog. So that's why this works. So this works because a poodle is a dog, because of inheritance. So anything that extends dog can go in an array of dogs. So I think that's kind of cool. One thing I want to talk about that's actually very powerful is something called the instance of keyword. So instance of is one word, all lowercase. Oh yeah, because I just used it randomly out of context. But the instance of keyword, it is one word, all lowercase, and you can use it in your code to see what type of object something is. And so, like, if you have a poodle, you're going to do X. If you have a chihuahua, you're going to do Y. And you can determine that by doing instance of. So let me just show you an example. Let's just loop through the pound, right? So I is 0, I is less than the pound length, it's an array, and then I plus plus. So let's say I want to go ahead and just count the poodles. So what I'm going to do is if the pound bracket I, and look, it's kind of goes how like an instance of works. Instance of poodle, or sorry, yeah, instance of poodle, which is capitalized. Then in that case, I'm just going to set up some counter. So I'll just set up, for example, int poodle count equals 0, and every time I find a poodle, I'll just add 1 to it. Okay, and then after I'm done, I'll just go ahead and print this out. Poodle count plus poodles. All right, but anyway, the purpose of this is now we loop through the array and we check if object I is a poodle variable. So you're not like checking any like instance variables of the type. You are checking the actual type of variable you have. Which is interesting. We've never done this before. You never asked, like, is this a string or is this an int? And that's what instance of allows us to do. So as you can imagine, hopefully we have 2 poodles out of the 5. So hopefully when we call this method, it compiles. That's good. And we compiled and we said we have 2 poodles. So now you might wonder, well, gee, what if we just tried to count the dogs? So let's set that to be 0. So what if we did the same, but instead of counting poodles, we can do this with a dog. So if the pound sub I is an instance of, for example, a dog, then I'll just add 1 to dogs. Now the question I have for you that I want you to think about is, how many dogs do we have? So are we going to have 2? So reminder, we have dog, dog, poodle, poodle, chihuahua. Are we going to have 2 dogs, or are we going to have 5 when we print it out? And that's a question you should think about quickly, because I'm going to run this here. And when we run it, we see we have 5 dogs. And hopefully that makes sense, because poodles are dogs, right? That's the is a relationship. So this works for every object in the list. Okay, so that's how you can do this, and that's how instance of works. Very powerful. If you have a variable or part of an array that you want to see as something, you can use instance of to see what it does. And you can also do this with a for each loop. You guys remember these. A for each loop for an array of dogs looks like this. So you just say for each dog D inside the pound. And just remember, if you want to see like if D is an instance of something, you can say if D instance of poodle, and then, you do whatever you want. So that's how you could do a for each loop. Now, one thing you might be wondering about is, what if I want to see if something is not an instance of something? So something is not a poodle variable. And one thing you're going to see is, if you put a not in front, that doesn't compile. Java gives you all sorts of weird errors here. It looks like parentheses expected. Yeah, you're in trouble. So if you want to see if something is not a variable type, see if something is not a variable type, instead of doing if, something is not an instance of poodle, the way you're going to write it is like this. If it is not the case, so you put the not in front. If it is not the case that your object is a poodle. So it looks like this. You say if, and then you put not in front, and then parentheses, D, instance of poodle. So what this is going to do is this is going to count the objects that are not poodles, so not poods. And again, we'll set that to be 0. And if we find something that is not a poodle, then in that case, we'll just do not poods plus plus. Okay, and then we'll go ahead at the end, of course, and print out the not poods. Okay, cool. So that's how this will work. When we go ahead and kind of run our code here, we're going to see it gave me 3, which is hopefully what we'd expect. Because, like, okay, this is not a poodle, this is not a poodle, this is a poodle, this is a poodle, and then the fourth one is not a poodle. So you had 3 times, and it printed out 3. So again, the not needs to go in front, and you're just saying if it is not the case that this variable is an instance of poodle. Okay, so that's how instance of works. This is going to help in your assignment quite a bit down the road as well. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys soon.